What's going on? Hey YouTube, what's going on? Alright, today guys, I'm actually going to do a video on strange. I wanted to speak about certain things that I've read in different books and just wanted to bring them to light and see if anybody else had any idea that some of this stuff is just not so nice. So with further ado, let's get into Kinta Films. Man, that's strange. Alright guys, what's up? I told you this is the episode of Strange. So one of the first ones I'm going to start on is, the Bible. The Bible is one of the books I read, and I always ask people, are you guys really reading this book? There are some really unusual things in here that throw me for a loop. And one of them, someone said that the snake in the garden was an allegory. I said, if that's an allegory, doesn't that defeat the purpose of what Jesus was supposed to be born for? And one of them, if you read it carefully, is Genesis chapter 14, and it said, the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, you're going to crawl on your belly. Well, if you think about it, most reptiles and serpents already have their bellies on the ground. So what are they? That's right. There was a being called the Nakash, but they don't talk about that in the newer translations, but the older ones you can find. Also, it says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between the seed and your seed and her seed. That means it has to be a guy screwing Eve or a serpent. So that means if there's a seed, that means there's a bloodline. That means that there were male and female serpents and they were doing Eve. All I want to tell you is it's strange. Now, before you jump down my damn throat and tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you need to do a little more research. Most of the angels are kind of talked about as they are some type of serpent. Some of them are called burning serpents. Some of them are cherubims. There's different ones named, and most of those cats are serpents. So I don't understand why, someone doesn't understand or see that there's a lot more going on than just this translation. Now, I'm going to go into the next part, but by the end, I'm going to refer to some books that you might be to put your hands into, because some of them I read are not eisegesis, it's exegesis, and the Bible actually backs these books up, which don't exist in these books today. So let's go on with the tale of strange. The next one, let's get into the strange tale of the giants. I've always noticed when they make movies, the one thing they will not touch is Genesis chapter 6. They will not touch it. I've always been curious as to why they wouldn't touch Genesis chapter 6. Sometimes I pull the book out in front of me and drop my other ones in the way just so I can get to what I want to look at. But in Genesis chapter 6, it's one of the strangest passages I've ever seen. It says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. And the sons of God saw the daughters, and they took them. They were fair, which really messes with my head is, they said when men began to have daughters. So if they thought those were beautiful, who were having those daughters? I always notice they never talk about women in the Bible. But if you're looking at any movie or you reading any ancient tales, what's the first thing they take? They kill the male babies, they keep the young girls, and they rape the women. I find it strange that Christianity is the only religion that is actually homosexual religion. There is no female. It's the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. But if you go to Africa and all the other ones, it's always the Father, the Mother, and the Child. That's the Holy Trinity. Why is it not in Christianity? I find that strange. Did I just say it? I find that strange. But let's get on to it. I'm going to put some pics up of giants that are named in the Bible. You can go look them up for yourself. When you find them, let me know and then ask yourself, is that strange? Okay, as I move on, I told you strange things that I find in the Bible, and I told you I'm going to give you a reference of other books I've read also. Deuteronomy 16:22. God hates pillars. Huh? He hates pillars, and I noticed that in a lot of churches I go into, they have pillars. I told you, I don't really think people are actually reading the book. They're just taking all the feel-good things. I have other videos I might make, depending, but I have chapter after chapter of nothing but massive murder, death, and dismay. If you think Moses, the Pharaoh was bad and what he did to Moses, you better read it further, because Moses actually killed more than the Pharaoh. But no one is going to go look for that, and no one will believe me. They'll just keep believing the lie. That's the crazy shit. That's why I said, this is strange. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Good gravy. There's another character I thought was strange in the Bible. His name is Bashan, or Bashan, whichever way you want to say it. I don't really have to tell you where to go for that, because he's another character you heard in the story, kind of like Goliath. But here's the strange thing. In another extra biblical text, because Og is important, it's because they said he survived the flood. Why do we not know this? Because they keep saying everything was wiped out by the flood. I'm not going to give you everything. I want people to look for this stuff. I never said it was right or wrong. It's just I've read other books, that state this. And I don't use eisegesis, I use exegesis. It'll back it up by the Bible itself. That's what I find very strange. I have to be what you call an unbeliever. Why am I an unbeliever? Because I already know. That's the difference. People believe. Believing is believing with no hard evidence. I don't need to have no hard evidence. That's the problem. That's why I'm an unbeliever. People be like, oh, they want to go on what I call emotion, and they try to rationalize. You stop doing that. So, another strange one, Bashan. He actually survived the flood. Strange. And here's a chart on the size of the guy. Also, I'm going to add a little bit more for the giants so people can gather what I talk about. 2 Samuel 21 and 16. This is a character or a couple called Ishbi-Benob, Zab, and Fain. It tells you that Ishbi-Benob, who it says, which was the sons of the giant, and they talked about how he was a huge character that David killed. And it said, they name it from chapter 16 down to 22, that they fought these mighty giants. And what I find strange is, even if this is an allegory or not, or this story is not real, why are we not taught in today's time, and they speak about these things coming upon the earth, how do we defeat them? I don't really care about you guys talking about, well, you don't believe in it. I'm like, no. If they are here and they do come back, how will we defeat them? Because they already tell you that a stout heart will die on what they see. I told you, I should open a church up called the Fringe Church. It's strange. So here's the part where I told you that I'm going to give you a couple books that I actually are on the way to get, but these are good books to read. Now, there's a lot of extra biblical textbooks you can put your hands on. And again, the weird thing, some of these books are named through the Bible, like the book of Jasher, the book of Enoch, which technically I found out that most people, they'll come up with the information, but the information will be just a little wrong. I'm not downing nobody, but they speak about these angels that fell to earth and did their thing. And one of them introduces itself straight out and says, my name is Gadriel. I tempted Eve. I found no one has gotten that yet. And I'm like, no one has come up with that. And this is in the book of Enoch, which I thought was strange that no one's studying the book of Enoch. He's the seventh from Adam. You see what I mean? That is so weird. But there's other books that you're going to see. Zoroastrian study, the pyramid text, the Cobran Bible, the Nag Hammadi, Gnostic text. These are books that come way before the Bible. And I read them, and it's weird because I can find stories upon stories that are just changed a little bit to be in the Bible. So, guys, thanks for being here with me on my episode of That Shit Is Strange. Well, let's just call it, It's Strange. All right, guys, to the next part. And just for those who really don't know much about Zoroaster, the weird thing is that is kind of the concept where it came with the good and the bad. A lot of people want to say that Satan, Lucifer, the devil, all different guys. That might be true, but I want you to put your mind around one thing. In the book of Job, God told him he can do anything to him but kill him. I want you to think really hard. If that was the devil, the one that we see depicted, wouldn't he just kill Job? He was under direct control of God. Now, again, people argue this down to me, but I'm telling y'all, that this guy did not have as much power, but it's just the story is so strange. But Again, I read a lot of books, and let me tell you, if you want to read some that are really mind-blowing, get into the Indian epics or the Incas or the Mayas. And there's a lot of African one textbook also. I mean, I have one book called A Book of Gods. It's written by a character by the name of Michael Jordan, not the basketball player, but that's the guy's name. And it has 2,500 deities of the world. I'm going to tell you this. There's no way in hell that someone had to make up something fake all the time, because I will say this. For people to say that stuff's not real, be careful, because some of the stuff out of the Bible came from it. So once you dismiss that, you dismiss what you believe in. And again, believing is nothing but believing in something without hard evidence. Start knowing. Move on from the strange. All right, guys, food for thought. I just want to let you know I'm not shit. I'm not smart. I'm not claiming to be smart. But a lot of this stuff that's named in here is pretty bad news. So I just want you to remember something. Are you going to be ready if this is supposed to happen? A lot of us are going to be ill-equipped. So before you jump down my throat, I'm telling you now, I'm not a smart guy. I just like to read. Also, just remember this. None of the stuff I use is mine. It's all for educational purpose. And I'm going to tell you again, I'm not the smartest guy in the book, but I do know this. Peter said test everything. God helps those who help themselves. It's so much stuff you can use, and there's so much you can do. So get out there, guys. Start studying and check out what's strange so you're not stuck.